Okay, I want you to come up front so you'll be right near the camera. Let him sit over there where you sit. So that you can read right over. See, read loud. The microphone is right there. Pick it right up. Because it got to be clear. So we're going into the 12 tribes. It's on now, right? We're going to show you in the scriptures who the 12 tribes are. Okay, we need to get these books. You need to get these books for your study. The name of this book I got in my hand is called James Adair's. JAMESADAIR'S History of the American Indians. James Adair's History of the American Indians. We put it out in around 1675. They got many different dates that it was published. You see that in the book. Then the other book that's going to be hard to find is by Lord Viscount Kingsborough. I'm going to read this. Lord Viscount Kingsborough produced by far the most elaborate argument that the ancient and Indians of America were of Jewish origin. Now this man's name is Viscount, Lord Viscount, V-I-S-C-O-U-N-T, last name K-I-N-G-S, B-O-R-O-U-G-H. He published in London, 1830 to 1848, 9 volumes in which many ancient Spanish, French, and Mexican manuscripts were for the first time printed. This work cost Lord Kingsborough, it is said, above 32,000 pounds, wrecked his fortune, and lost him his life. He died a prisoner for debt. Kingsborough's work is beyond the reach of the average reader or student. It has become excessively rare, bringing about $500 in the book market. So you know it's worth much more than that now. Because that was around 18-something. Okay. Here's what it says in the contents. A history of the North American Indians, their customs, etc. Observation on their color, shape, temper, and dress. Observation on the origin and descent of the Indians. Observation and arguments and proof of the American Indians being descended from the Jews. Now, brother got another book. It's called The Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Lost Tribes and Promised Lands by Ronald Sanders. R-O-N-A-L-D-S-A-N-D-E-R-S. Ronald Sanders. Now the brother is going to read some quotations out of this book. Tell him page.
This is on page 182. Since it's in the second paragraph down.
Loud.
It's in the second paragraph down. Since Lander was convinced that the Indians were descended from the lost tribe of Israel. Now we're going to go to page 363. In the beginning chapter. This is on page 363 of the same book. In September 1644, a Portuguese Moreno named Antonio de Montesinos arrived in Amsterdam after having lived for some years in South America, and proceeded to tell the leaders of the recently established Jewish community there a story that caused them to think of him as a latter-day Eldad the Danite. 2.5 years before, he told them while traveling in the wild mountains of Quito, he had heard some of his Indian guides remark that the natives of that country deserved all the suffering they had undergone at the hands of the Spaniards. When he had asked them to explain why they thought such a thing, they had replied mysteriously that it was because we so badly treated a holy people, the greatest in the world. Nothing more had been offered by them on this point, but later in the same conversation, Francisco, one of the Indian guides, had declared that his countrymen would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time anyway.
Right, because he's an Israelite. That's the guy that replied. You got that? Everybody got that? This is the Indian. Because the Indians are Israelites, just like we proved in it. Now listen to what he's going to say.
By means of a people now hidden.
Now nobody can tell me who that people now hidden. Now he's an Israelite. But he's talking about, if I talk too much, you're going to get the answer. I want you to think. Who's the people that this Israelite's talking about hidden? Read it again, brother, because they're still looking blank.
It said, nothing more had been offered by them on this point, but later in the same conversation, Francisco, one of the Indian guides, had declared that his countrymen would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time anyway by means of a people now hidden.
A people now hidden. Boy, y'all asleep. 83rd Psalm. Listen, 83rd Psalm. Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not thy still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult. The enemies of the Most High is all the nations on this planet. All the nations, with Esau at the top. And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They that hate the Most High, the most, that have lifted up their head is the so-called white man. They have lifted up their head as what? As Israelites, as the Most High, as Jesus Christ, as Moses, as Solomon. They have lifted up their head as the people of the Most High, the so-called white man, by painting all the people of the Most High so-called white people. Everybody understand? And they that hate thee, talking about the white man, have lifted up the head, meaning they have lifted themselves up as us, have made themselves honorable, have called themselves Jews and Israelites. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, meaning they overthrew all Israel, the white man, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Nobody know who the hidden ones is yet? Huh? So-called Negro. That's right. The so-called Negroes, the hidden ones. Tribe of Judah, the so-called Negroes, the hidden ones. Read that statement again.
It says, nothing more had been offered by them on this point, but later in the same conversation, Francisco, one of the Indian guides, had declared that his countrymen would be avenged
Who was his countrymen? Right, go on.
Upon the Spaniards in time anyway, by means of a people now hidden.
Why does it say that? Because the gathering of the people shall be to Judah. That's why it says it. So who's the hidden one? The so-called Negroes. Y'all still don't understand? This information was written back there. They were saying that the Indians was Israelites. They was always saying that. But they was keeping a secret that the Negroes were the Jews. And they hid them. Y'all don't pick up what you read in the scriptures. Now I'm going to give you the scriptures on that. You finished?
Yeah, just about.
Read that again.
Okay. Nothing more had been offered by them on this point, but later in the conversation, Francisco, one of the Indian guides, had declared that his countrymen would be avenged.
Who is his countryman?
Israelites.
Who is he?
Israelites.
So-called what?
Indian.
Okay.
Who
is he talking about?
So-called
Yeah, so-called American Indians he's talking about. When he said, my countrymen. Listen to what I'm asking. Read it again.
Nothing more had been offered by them on this point, but later in the same conversation, Francisco, one of the Indian guides, had declared that his countrymen would be avenged.
Indian guys. This Indian guy was a what?
Israelite.
So he's talking about his countrymen are what?
Israelite.
What was they calling his countrymen?
Indians.
Y'all got that? No.
That his countrymen would be avenged upon the Spaniards in time anyway, by means of a people now hidden.
So who was this people now hidden? Judah. Y'all got that? Y'all got to learn how to read what you pick up on what you read. That's why I went into the 83rd Psalm. I'm going to read it again. Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace. Be not thy still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. The enemies making a tumult is all the nations. All the nations. Because they all took us down. And the one that has lifted up his head is the white man. He has lifted up his head as us. He has said, I am the Israelites. I'm the chosen people of the Most High. I'm the Christians. I'm the anointed people. I'm Moses. I'm David. I'm Jesus Christ. I'm the angel. I'm the Most High, right? And they have taken crafty counsel against our people. They lied about us. They call us what? Indians and Negroes and so on, right? That was crafty counsel. And consulted against thy hidden ones. The hidden ones are who? Judah. Okay, the so-called Negroes. Y'all got that, right? They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Who's the main culprit in this? The white man. Okay, but all the nations plotted, but the so-called white man is the main culprit in this. Now I want you to give me, brother, Isaiah 29. 29th chapter of Isaiah. I believe it's the 16th verse. 15th verse?
16. Sorry, not sir.
Yeah. What's the 15th verse say?
Woe unto them that seek thee.
Right. Here's the 15th verse.
Isaiah 29th chapter and the 15th verse.
Repeat it again.
Isaiah, the 29th chapter and the 15th verse. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh.
Yeah. Because the so-called white man thought he was going to stop the Most High's program. Whose program was he trying to stop? So he figured if he hid the truth, that'll stop the program, that'll stop the prophecies of Israel coming back and ruling this earth and putting him in captivity. Gone.
And their works are in the dark.
Yeah, because they were doing this secretly. Gone.
And they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us? Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay.
Okay, who knows where the scripture is? He that made the eye, can he not see? He that made the ear, can he not hear?
Psalms 94 and 9.
In the whole Isaiah 29, because we're going back to the 16th verse.
Right. The Psalms, the 94th chapter and the 9th verse. He that planted the ear, shall he not hear? He that formed the eye, shall he not see?
So who is he telling that to? So-called white man. There's a white man saying that the Most High is asleep. He don't know nothing. There ain't no Most High. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Who's the fool?
So-called white
man.
Now go from there and go back to Isaiah 29, 16.
Isaiah 29, 16. Surely you're turning things upside down.
So when it says turn things upside down, it means exactly that. He Like Most High said in Job, the 30th chapter, that he's more vile than anything on the earth, on the planet. He's more vile than anything in this earth. So he was on the bottom. So he put himself on the top as Israelites, as the people of the Most High, and put us on the bottom as the devil and children of Satan. That's what he's calling us. And wicked. Okay, you finished that statement?
Yes, surely.
Read it again.
Surely your turn of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay.
So you can understand that last part. Esteemed as the potter's clay, meaning the potter making stuff out of clay. He can take that pot and melt it back down and start over again. Put it in some more clay and start over again. Everybody understand? So the Most High is the creator. He turns things upside down. Most High can't turn them back right side up again. So that's what it's saying.